Welcome back to Chapter 138 of The Flower of Freedom by Deborah J. Reeves. All rights to both the book and the presentation are reserved. Come on in, as long as you brought your goodwill and your good heart, and have a seat. We offer you about 8 minutes of rest and relaxation, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. Okay, here we go. Chapter 138, New Conceptions. One day at the end of the second week, there was a man in a suit sitting in the salon when they returned from breakfast. When Bianca and Hans came through the door to the apartment, Bianca was startled, but she put her handbag on the table in the foyer as Hans went to greet the visitor. Hans had mentioned that he was helping with a research study and that he had to get back to the apartment to meet Dr. Bengal. But Bianca thought he would be in the lobby, not lounging in their apartment. Hans shook his hand heartily and introduced him to Bianca. To please Hans, Bianca shook his hand, but she was put off by him being in the apartment alone when they were not there. It took her some minutes to warm up. Once they were all seated, Hans asked Dr. Bengal to tell him again about the study and how he could help. The review was short. Dr. Bengal knew this was a ruse. He said that he worked with the local university, and he and his research partners were hoping to learn about enzymes from urine that could potentially be early warning signs of heart disease. He told Hans that he was needed as a member of the control group because he was in exceptional fitness for a man of his age, when many men were already experiencing decline. I assure you, Dr. Bengal, that Hans is in superlative shape. I'm studying medicine as well, and Hans is a god among men. Hans laughed aloud at the compliment. He turned to Dr. Bengal and said, "Give me the cup. I'll be happy to supply you with a sample. I cannot imagine why anyone would not wish to support a study that could help so many people. Just leave the cup on the water closet vanity and I will help you I will take it and put it into a sealed vial for transportation," Dr. Bengal said while rummaging through his medical bag for the cup and the vial. The case was full of cups and vials, so it was easy for him to find one. He handed it to Hans, who left for the powder room nearby. Dr. Bengal sat down again, making conversation with Bianca. Bianca was interested in the contents of Dr. Bengal's case. She wanted to know why he was carrying certain chemicals. He responded that he had more than one research project in process. He attempted to distract her focus by segueing to her medical education, and she warmed to her topic. Hans returned to the salon and told Dr. Bengal that the sample was on the vanity. He turned to Bianca and he asked her if she was going to participate in the study. "Oh, I don't know. At my age and gender, I don't think it would be much of a contribution." "Oh, come on, Bianca. He's not asking for diamonds. What will it cost you?" She wanted to please Hans, and she was surprised that he cared about it. Okay. It's no problem, so I will." She reached forward toward Dr. Bengal for a cup. Once in hand, she went to the powder room. When she returned, Dr. Bengal and Hans were chatting quietly near the window in the salon. When he saw Bianca, Dr. Bengal promptly turned, picked up his case, and he went to the powder room and closed the door. Bianca stepped forward, putting her arms around Hans, and she looked up into his face. He smiled down and he kissed her. They stood together and they looked at the harbor front below. Within a minute or two, they heard Dr. Bengal re-enter the room, and they turned. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw Dr. Bengal give a short shake of his head. She thought she felt Hans's shoulders slump, but that made no sense, so she dismissed it. Hans escorted Dr. Bengal to the door, and Bianca thought she saw Hans slip an envelope from his breast pocket into Dr. Bengal's hands. Hans leaned out the doorway, and they whispered together for a moment, and then, with a quick thank you, Dr. Bengal was gone. When Hans returned, he looked at Bianca, somehow changed. He told her that he needed some time alone that night, and he asked her if she could sleep in the guest bedroom. Of course, Hans, but why? Did I do something wrong? No, I have a headache. I want to rest and relax. You can stay, or I can get the doorman to drive you back to your parents' place. But I can't stand here and debate it. I'll stay. Can I get you anything? I don't need anything from you, Bianca, except peace. Do not bother me tonight, if you really want to help me, he said as he turned and left the room. Bianca stood there stunned as his bedroom door banged behind him. Bianca stood there for a few minutes. Hans did not come back as she thought he might. She'd never seen him like that before. She wandered over to the guest bedroom with the whole day ahead of her. It was a lovely room with a fine selection of music and books and art. She put some Rolling Stones on the stereo, and she started to dance as she thought about what was up with Hans. Just a bad migraine, she decided. That's the end of this chapter. The next one is chapter 139, and it's called Migraine. We hope you'll come back for that one too. It's always a pleasure to have you here. I remain your friend Deborah.